Hey, you guys, welcome. Just 1 second. Don't go away. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yep, I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah. Tonight? No.
I'm switching over from nights.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I won't be there either. I got men's team tonight.
I'll be kicking around tomorrow.
Okay. See you tomorrow. Thanks for popping in.
Yeah.
Well, we had company. And that's what happens. Alex dropped in, and he's been away in the bush for a while, and so I just had to say goodbye to him. So Dave Moss is here visiting, and Dave is, how do I describe Dave? Well, first of all, he's Abby's husband, and that's how we originally know Dave, is through Abby. And Abby would show up, and we thought Dave was an illusion. So where is he? And she assured us there was a Dave.
I do exist, yeah.
And then a week or so ago, Abby and Dave both came to the meditation on Monday night, and as soon as he opened his mouth and started talking, I thought, wow, there's actually somebody there, and more than just a pretty face. And so Dave is he's a smarty pants.
I wouldn't go that far.
He is a smarty pants, and I think that's a compliment.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a compliment. He's, he's like, we just had a problem with our Facebook and technology, and Dave just had it. Boom. We said, well, let's try this. And that didn't work. Let's try this. And it didn't work. And we tried like 3 things, and we fixed it. So we're back with with everything working. And so thank you for that.
Yeah, no problem.
But in the time when we were doing it, he and I were talking, and we got talking about what's really been an interest for me lately, which is biohacking and brain regrowth and brain redevelopment and brain awakening. You know a bit about that?
I know a little bit about that. I definitely am not an expert, but it's been something that I've been reading and researching maybe for the last 18 months or so, reading books on neurogenesis and different nootropics and stacking vitamins and all the rest of that, and chemicals like NAD+, which people are using for longevity, and just all of these different things to try to make the body and the brain better. I really like the idea of high performance, not so much in a sports methodology.
Yeah.
That's often where when you hear the term high performance, or you look up a performance coach, it's traditionally been in the sports medicine sort of world or sports psychology world.
Yeah.
For me, it's more personal development.
Yeah.
So it's, how can I perform the best I can? How can I change my habits, adjust habits, live my life, run my business, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. So for me, I got kind of, I watch a lot of podcasts, and I saw Dave Asprey on a podcast, and I forget who he was, Joe Rogan or somebody was interviewing him, and Dave Asprey's kind of this goofy little, he's not little, he's big, but he's this nerdy guy, and I'm thinking, and he's the Bulletproof Coffee guy, but he said he got talking about brain fog.
Huge.
I know. Well, tell me, and brain fog. Have you ever had brain fog? And I was like, yes, and because I really got I think a tiger by the tail here, business-wise, and making a difference in community, making a difference in literally in the world.
Yeah.
I want to be. I'm motivated to be all that I can be.
Yeah.
So and you talk about brain fog and depression and how they're kind of together, and I mean, it's easy to be depressed if your friggin' mind's not working, and so I got interested.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot in that space that it's a wonder to me how little we know about our own bodies and what works. Like, food science is still mostly a mystery. 1 year they say eat egg whites, the next year they say egg whites are the worst things for you. And
forget because they're full of shit. Guys like Asprey, who is actually this guy's obsessed.
Yeah.
With research and development, and he's got a clinic that I want to one day be able to afford to go to, and he's talking about living to be 180.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of guys out there. There's a doctor at USC in California called Walter Longo. He's the world's leading longevity specialist, and he's been doing science for 30 years. Oh, we're on the 18 now.
That's James's phone. He forgot to put on.
But yeah, so he's been doing tons and tons
That's
of
funny.
research on longevity.
Yeah.
Because for him, it's not just living as long as you possibly can, but living a quality of
Living
life for as
well.
long as you possibly
Yeah.
can. And so he's done lots into fasting, different nootropics, different diets, things like that.
Exercise.
Yeah, I mean, so
right.
many different things. I mean,
Yeah.
his big thing now is fasting. He started a company, or a company used his research called Prolon, which is it's a 5-day fast mimicking diet, which reboots sort of the gut biome and your whole body, helps with
So it's keto.
autophagy.
Yeah.
No, it's not keto.
Okay.
It's not at all. So his diet is actually mostly plant-based with 2 days a week, fish, all the dairy is only goat dairy, things like that. But the fast mimicking diet is you're still able to, there's small soups, consommes, things like that, teas. So you're not actually fully starving the body for 5 days. Because for a lot of people, if they were to go into a fast for the first time, it would be really, really hard on the system. So this is a way around that. And I mean, you don't have to buy, I think Prolon's like $250 to buy the kit for a 5-day fast. You can go online and find where
Similar,
people have
yeah.
hacked with avocados or other things like that. But it's the idea of beating brain fog, realizing what foods cause brain fog, because food is a lot for brain fog. Whether for some people it's gluten. My wife has a gluten allergy in the way that when she eats gluten she gets brain fog.
Yeah.
I don't have that problem, but a lot of people do. And there's all sorts of different things that we're just not aware of because it's just the way that we've always done.
Well, I think, for most of us, if we just cut out gluten and dairy,
That'd be huge, yeah.
yeah, it's a big deal, you
Yep.
know. And it's hard if you like pizza.
Yeah, totally. I love pizza. Yeah, no, it's hard, but I think it's worth it to take a look at your own diet and all of these, like with Asprey and Bulletproof Coffee, putting multi-chain triglyceride, oh god, I can't say that word now, triglycerides in your coffee, which is basically just a specific type of
MCT,
MCT oil, a specific type of coconut oil. Doing things like that, like that's easy.
Yeah.
That's a way to easily take something, add it to your
Yeah.
diet, and make it
Yeah.
better.
Yeah. So in my coffee, of course, I have shea butter, and then I have his brain oil,
Yeah.
and then turmeric, and what's that powder? Protein powder. Something I forget right now.
Yeah.
But and some cocoa chocolate,
Yeah.
90%, and his stuff.
Yeah.
And wow.
One of the things that we've been doing a lot lately is mushroom mixes. There's a guy out there, Paul Stamets. He's probably the world's leading mycologist, and he highly recommends lion's mane mushrooms and reishi mushrooms. Lion's mane is actually really, really good for neurogenesis. So if you're thinking about regrowing brain cells, lion's mane is really, really good for
That's
that.
easy to add to the coffee.
Yeah, there's a company here in Canada, Harmonic Arts. They grow and forage all of their own mushrooms. You can buy it online.
Vancouver Island.
Yeah, and
Terry Willer's son.
Yeah.
What's his name? I forget his name, but anyway.
Yeah.
See why I need to do this?
It helps.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, all these little things they add up. It's expensive,
So
and
all
you
of
have
that
to figure
stuff
out.
that's available at the Light Cellar.
Yeah, it's available at the Light Cellar.
Malcolm.
Yeah.
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 Do you know Malcolm?
Don't know. No, the Light Cellar. Don't
No,
know.
the Light
Don't
Cellar,
know
yeah.
Malcolm. But
Malcolm's been on and and that was before I kind of discovered all this stuff we're talking about right now. I want to talk to him more about that.
Yeah.
Because I think, all the 50-somethings and 60-somethings, everybody who wants to not just be sharper, but is already starting to think, hell, am I losing my brain? What Asprey's saying is there's no need to go into to have dementia. Really, that we can rebuild our brain.
I mean, prevention's great, and
Yeah.
I mean, start at my age or start younger,
Yeah.
and you're going to be ahead of the game for sure. So just being aware of a lot of this stuff is super helpful. You know, what nootropics work for you, learning how to stack them. You know, if you're stacking a caffeine with an L-theanine with an ashwagandha or whatever, there's a million different ways to do it out there, and there's a lot of science and a lot of research material online that's easy to read to figure out what things are going to work for you and what your end goal is. I mean, a lot of it is what it is you're trying to get out of it.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's neurogenesis, you want to get better memory, or you want to focus better, you want to get rid of brain fog.
Now, who doesn't want better memory, more focus, and get rid of brain fog?
Most people want that.
All of those things.
Yeah, but I mean, then you also have to factor in things like exercise, getting rid of bad habits. There's so much that is involved in this. It's a full process to really try to transform your life to lead those high performance.
He's big
goals.
on coffee.
Yeah.
And he basically, one of the things about coffee is that a lot of coffee has mold in it. Mm-hmm. So if you're drinking moldy coffee, it's not a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know, he's big on not having mold anywhere in your home.
Yeah, which is tough. I mean, easier in Alberta. We're not so wet. But
yeah, it's so dry here. It doesn't matter. You know, I bring stuff in from Indonesia and it comes off the container moldy. Mm-hmm. Unless it's wintertime. Yeah. You know, it's frozen mold. but generally, you know, the container's damp, but I leave the place, you know, kind of blow it out, and it's gone quick because it's so dry. Mm-hmm. You know.
Yeah.
But so tell us, you studied.
I studied network engineering.
Network engineering, and then you did that for
12 years.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then you decided to become a life coach and business coach.
Yeah, so there was a transition phase in between, which I'm still part of as a photographer. My wife and I run a photography company, and that's sort of the main income source right now.
What's it called?
Abby plus Dave, really simple.
Abby and Dave, and you specialize in?
We specialize in weddings, but we do all sorts of different things. But weddings is our main thing, which you get to spend some of the happiest days of people's lives with them, so that's pretty great. But it was through that, learning to be an entrepreneur and learning how little I knew and the things that I didn't even know I didn't know, which led me into both a coaching and a life coaching path. Yeah. Because I realized if I don't know enough about this, what else don't I know enough about? So I took a year-long life coaching course, and I read voraciously, listened to tons of podcasts, and just started filling in gaps.
Who do you listen to in podcasts?
So Mike Gervais, which is Finding Mastery. Mm-hmm. He's a sports psychologist, but interviews CEOs and athletes and healers and comedians and entertainers to figure out what habits they use, what mental tricks they use, what their path was to allow them to master whatever it is they're doing.
Nice. Yep.
I love that one. I listen to the 10% Happier podcast, which is Dan Harris's podcast about meditators.
Mm-hmm.
What else? He's got so many.
Tim Ferriss. Yeah. Everybody loves Tim.
Yeah. I listen to the On Being podcast, which is a really good thing to mellow me out. It's basically about being a really good human. It started out as a spirituality radio show on NPR in the States, and now Krista Tippett sort of expanded it into all sorts of into politics and race and religion and societal issues. So that's a good mellow out after listening to a Joe Rogan or a Tim Ferriss, because they're very young energy,
more higher.
Yeah.
Yep. Higher intensity. Do you know who I like? Who's really has done a lot with media, but recently started more of his podcasting is Russell Brand.
Yeah. Russell Brand's he's a really interesting dude to go from British Big Brother to what he's done now.
Yeah.
Abby and I listened to his book Revolution a couple years ago on a drive down to New Mexico, and it was an eye opener for me, because I guess I'm not super spiritual, and so hearing his journey and what he went through it was a nice ease in for me.
Yeah. His new book, Recovery, I think, on the 12 Steps, is amazing.
Yeah.
Like I have been clean and sober for a long time. Coming up, I'll be 40 years in the not too distant future. So I was a kid, right? But I was qualifier. There was no question that one was too many, and 100 was never enough. You know, when I drank, I went full in. I was totally present.
Yeah.
So when I first read his book, I thought, how badly can he fuck this up?
pretty badly.
But he didn't.
Yeah.
You know, the book.
Oh,
about
yeah,
that.
the book was great.
The book. Did you
Yeah.
read it, Recovery?
I've listened to the audiobook of it.
Have
yeah.
you? So I was, really?
Yeah.
That's interesting that you would listen to that. I would think that most of the market for that would be people who were in recovery. And I also thought that his book would kind of introduce the 12 steps to a lot of people that didn't know them.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
I for sure didn't know them.
Yeah.
I mean, I listened to it because I consume lots of media, and in my life coaching practice, I come across people from all walks of life, and there's people who are struggling with addiction
Drugs and alcohol.
or going through
You send them to
recovery.
me.
Yeah.
I'll send them back to you, but send them to me. That's what
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
And a lot.
I mean, that's a lot of it. Is I send people to the right place if I can help them, but I still want to know enough to know what I'm dealing with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where I do most of my frontline work is with sponsees, and like the man who just left. And yeah, it's rewarding, it's challenging, it's disappointing.
Yeah.
You know, I love that work, and it's when somebody's caught in their addiction, it's like, holy, it really, they're like, why can't I stop? That's often the question, and when they go back out and they use or drink, and I talk to them, I say, so what happened? I don't know.
Yeah.
That's the answer, is I don't know. And I'm like, of course you don't know, so let's look
Figure
at
it out. Yeah.
Well, and we can't actually treat it with psychology. It's a the only thing that seems to work for us, if we're a real alcoholic or real addict, is a spiritual program of recovery.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you're familiar with Dr. Gabor Mate's work,
Sure,
but yeah,
yeah.
I mean, his is a lot of childhood trauma, and like he
Yeah,
uses.
not that isn't there.
Yeah.
But still, if we don't move into service and into a higher vibration, a love vibration, or an unconditional love vibration, or some sort of a spiritual belief system, we doing all the work with the trauma doesn't seem to fix it. We're still
You still need somewhere to go.
yeah, we still
Yeah.
hate ourselves.
Yeah.
And when we move into a higher vibration, we're a connection with God as we understand Him, and we're living in a life of service. We kind of start to feel okay about ourselves, and there's we're not caught in fear, and we're not caught in the drama,
Yeah.
and we're more into primary purpose, which we call primary purpose.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you're teaching, helping people with their lives, that the big thing that we all want is purpose.
Yeah, that's what started me down this path.
Yeah.
I was in my early 30s. I had bounced through engineering, music, photography, so many different things, and nothing had really stuck as this is what I'm meant to be doing.
Yeah.
And so I just, through conversations with my wife and work that she does, and then lots of different reading and soul searching and going to Colombia and drinking ayahuasca and all sorts of different things like that, just trying to find that part of myself. And then it was when I found life coaching through a sort of serendipitous way that I was like, oh, this is it. This is
Nice.
what I was meant to do, was help people.
Yeah.
Help people figure out what I already went through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And opening some doors for them.
Absolutely.
And,
Yeah.
Oh, that's
I mean,
exciting.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is we don't, through a lot of our species' history, we've had mentors,
Yeah.
guides, villages that we've lived around, and
Yeah.
we don't have that. A lot of us live solitary lives or very insular lives these days, which is why I think that the coaching industry is blowing up. There's a lot of charlatans out there, but I think for the most part, the people who are really trying to help are filling that role of,
Yeah.
of a guide or a mentor to try to help people to find a way, to find a path, because it's, I mean, you can do it on your own, but it's
Yep.
a lot harder, so
Yep.
why would you want to?
You can, and I think it's having somebody, so people can kind of work with you at different levels too, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So just having a touchstone to come back to and say, I'm looking at this, or I'm trying this, or doing that. What do you think of this? And so, or they could call you every day, like it.
They could,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, the way that my teacher, so I took a life coaching course through a woman in the States called Martha Beck, who's written a lot of books. She was a PhD sociology major at Harvard, taught at the Thunderbird Business School, so she's been through a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And she says that life coaching is for mostly high-performing people who have a gap in their lives, whether it's they're looking for purpose or they're trying to figure out why they can't break these habits, things like
Yeah.
that. Like that's what you go to a life coach for, or a business coach on the other side of things, where your business is performing okay, but it could be, it has more potential. It has the potential to do more. And so a lot of the times you need a guide, you need a help, you need someone who's unbiased to take a look at your life or your business and say, I think this is where you could do some work. Yeah.
Nice. I'm involved with, I have a men's group that I've been involved with for 20 years. And it's really blown up this last year. We have a new leader, Eric Mortimer, who's been leading the last 2 years. And we've gone from like 35 men to 90, or close to 100 actually, at the end of the year. And we meet once a week. Often for 3 hours, 2.5, 3 hours, and often outdoors around the fire. And it's not new agey in a way. It's we're there really in a practical sense, helping men be the best men they can be. Great dads, good in business, great sons, brothers, husbands, and so we're there for each other's success, and so the mask comes off.
Yeah.
It's a safe place. We don't have to show up in any way. We don't have to bring our persona. It doesn't mean that we don't, but we don't necessarily have to show up with a persona. We can let it go, and we want to drop into some emotion, or anger, or whatever happens. It's a safe place to do those things, and I've been doing it for many, many years. So I've become, I'm kind of the elder after 20 years of being there, and in the early days it was really great for me. I first went because I wanted to be a better dad, and I was actually lining up to almost. I came close to getting married the third time. and the men straightened me out. So having men in your life, I think, is really important. It turned out I didn't have to get married again.
Yeah.
And I've never had to get married again since then. And not that I'm opposed to that. I think that I've never been ready, and I might be more ready now than. But literally, I probably married twice when I wasn't qualified.
Yeah. Yeah. And you were looking for something in your life that maybe wasn't there, whether it was community or just the relationship. I think that's great that you're having these men's groups. I think, you look at the problem with toxic masculinity out there right now, the Gillette ad that came out, things like that. I think that men for a while haven't been given a safe space to feel their feelings, to talk through things, to work through things. So I think that's
well,
super
we've been
valuable.
doing it for a long time, but we've kind of come out of the, we were doing it very quietly, and now my friend Eric has really exposed us more. We're more in social media. We're more available. We have meetup groups and that kind of stuff, and so men are finding us.
Yeah.
And I mean, we can't handle too many.
Sure.
But as new men come in, they're learning what it is that we have to give. We have a little bit of a code of honor and that we talk about, and so there's some dogma, but not many. It's not faith based, and so that's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'd love you to actually come and meet them.
Sure.
And come to one of our meetings and see what you think. And
Yeah, I think that'd be great.
Yeah, having men in your life I think it makes us a better man when we're in a relationship.
Absolutely does. Yeah. And having men you can be vulnerable with, I think, is super helpful.
Yeah.
A lot of my close male friends, we're all able to be vulnerable around each other. So if you're having a problem with your marriage or with your kid or with your job or with your life, you can talk about it.
Yeah.
And sometimes just talking about it is enough. Like, we're not there to fix your problem unless you're asking for help.
We call it active listening.
Yeah. Active listening is huge. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's super valuable.
Nice.
Yeah.
So what are the plans for the next couple of years? What do you see happening?
Hopefully a lot of growth in my coaching business. I actually just hired my own coach because I got to practice what I preach. So we start working together in a couple of weeks to take my business to the next level and work more on that. And then hopefully retreats. I actually want to do a men's retreat out in nature somewhere where it's connecting with the world and also connecting with the inner self. My tagline for my business is "Find Your Nature," so it kind of works in on that. But it's really a lot of growth in that direction, moving away from the photography so that I can focus more on helping people and growing that world.
I think you'd actually get something from what we do. I mean, we have a lot of content in our men's stuff, and I mean, it stood the test of time.
Yeah, clearly.
You know, for me 20 years, but these fellas, some of them have been meeting since the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
You know, not local guys here, but we're affiliated with a larger group, and that's North American, and yeah, you might actually pick some pieces from that you can use in your own coaching world, and because we do some cool stuff.
Yeah, I believe it. I mean, there's stuff to learn everywhere, so I don't doubt that there would be something there to pick up.
Yeah, I'd love to have you come and meet the men, my men. It's been great too for me with my kids. So my kids, since in the last 20 years, have got to meet most of those men.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so those are my men.
Yeah.
And Dad has this group of men that he hangs out with, or that he's part of, or he goes on trips with, and I think that helps them a little bit with, you know, some sense of security, and because it's community, right?
Yeah, community's huge.
They're my tribe.
Yeah, and it's something that we don't have a lot of these days. A lot of people have, you know, I think there was a stat that came out that most people have less than 5 close friends that they could lean on in a time of crisis.
Mm-hmm.
They're surrounded by, you know, friends on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, things like that. But if something were to actually go upside down in their life, the number of people that most North Americans have that they could actually lean on now is shrinking rapidly. So having that community is invaluable.
Yeah, and I'm very fortunate because I also have my 12-step community,
Mm-hmm.
which is I'm kind of, I don't have time to get married and be in a relationship, and I have this.
Yeah.
This is, you know, an amazing possibility. What do you think of my meditation chairs?
I think they're great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've always been an on-floor meditator, but
Yeah.
this is pretty nice too.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good for my posture.
Yeah.
I'm chronically bad postured, and I've been sitting here the whole time. I'm like, oh, this is all right.
No, honestly, I spend sometimes 2 hours a day on these, don't I? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of time on it. Yeah.
Well, I think that's something that's great that you're doing here is helping people create spaces for mindfulness. I think to swing back to what we were talking about at the early part of the conversation, you know, mindfulness is one of those things that comes up again and again and again, meditation and mindfulness, whenever people are talking about, you know, neurogenesis or brain elasticity, you know, all of these different things, making your life better.
Mm-hmm.
Meditation is one of those things that comes up over and over and over again. And it's a hard thing for people to get into because nobody likes being bad at something, and everybody starts off bad at meditation.
Mm-hmm.
But I think creating an environment, having a place where you can go in your home to do that. I read a book earlier this last month called Atomic Habits, which is all about creating good habits or changing your okay habits into really great ones. And one of the biggest things was environment. So it's like if you can create an environment for a habit that you want to form, such as meditation, it makes it stickier, it makes it easier to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Totally. That's awesome. I have a room in my house where my exercise stuff is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I have a little set of weights and my mat and my meditation stuff is there. And it's like having it there obviously means it's high in my value.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I mean, if you don't have room in the house, just make it obvious. Put a stool or put your mat or put your cushion or whatever for meditation in an obvious place, so it's always in your line of sight, so you think about it, it reminds you.
Calling you.
Yeah.
Sit on
It's
me.
like, I say to my clients, they're like, you know, I want to go to the gym 5 days a week, but I don't do it. I say, put your gym bag in front of your door every night before you go to bed. You can't help but stumble over it when you leave the house, so you pick it up and you go to the gym.
Go to the gym.
Yeah.
5 days a week.
I don't do that.
No. No, you don't. What do you do? Like for relaxing and hobby, like you ski or?
I rock climb in the gym once a week with friends. I run when the weather's not terrible. Hiking is pretty much my biggest outdoor. I love hiking more than anything. It's where this tattoo came from, was hiking with my dog.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, I prefer to be outdoors or connected with nature for my exercise. So I'm not a gym person, but if I can be hiking or climbing or running outdoors, then that's definitely where I'd rather be. I should get into skiing considering where we live, but
Yes.
cross-country skiing I do, but not downhill.
Yeah, nice. And you've been married for 10 years?
Together for 10 years, married for 5.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So what else do you want to share with us?
Oh man, I could talk for hours on any different. I like to say I'm a mile wide and inch deep because I research so much. Research is a hobby of mine. Something comes across my way and I think it's interesting, and I grab books on it, read podcasts on it.
Good. Can you help us research our marketing techniques?
Yeah, there's a lot there. Marketing is a super, super interesting world right now.
We're looking at the whole affiliate thing. Do you know much about that?
I dabble. I don't know a ton about it. It's not directly in the space of where I or my clients are working, but I definitely see it being, like, it's for the people who do affiliate marketing, and it works well. It works really well. Yeah.
So when we were talking earlier about this, I thought, to hell with it. Why don't I actually go after a couple of the big fish instead of signing up? You know, I mean, we could sign up 500 yoga studios to market our meditation stuff, but why not go after Headspace?
Yeah. I mean, there's no harm in asking. You know?
Why not go talk to Eckhart? And say, hey, Eckhart, you know, why don't we put these on your website and have you do a little endorsement and help people create meditation spaces?
Yeah, I mean, I think, and even like the 10% Happier I talked about earlier, so Dan Harris's book and app, he wrote a second book called Meditation for Fidgety Skeptics. And the whole thing was debunking or giving information for all of the reasons why people don't meditate or stop meditating. And one of the things was environment. So like that might be something that you could talk to them about, because they've got an app and a website and books and everything else.
Do they? We're going to tag that, aren't we? Yeah. And we have a book list.
Yeah.
And mostly it's around meditation books or spiritual books or things. But we're also, like, I'm going to put Asprey's book on there because I think that helping people see the science-based health reasons. And for meditation.
That Venn diagram's got some overlay of the science and the health and the body wellness, and then the spiritual and soul and mind wellness. Like, I think if you're getting into one, eventually you roll into the other, whichever direction you're coming from.
Nice. Well,
I mean, just look at Tim Ferriss.
Yes.
He was all mind hack, life hack, improve through science and all the rest of that, and now he's talking about writing a book on trauma and spirituality and all the rest of that. So it happens.
Mental health.
Yeah, once you're in one, it tends to roll over onto the other.
Yeah. Well, so do you meditate?
I do, not as much as I'd like to, but I do meditate. Yeah, at least 5 times a week. I want to get it up to a daily practice, but 5
times a week is good.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah, I don't judge myself for it. You know, it's like that's one of the things that a lot of people, you know, they focus on the things that they fail at as opposed to the small victories.
Let's not look at the 2 days you weren't there.
Yeah.
5 days a week is awesome.
Yeah.
And even if you're fudging that a day, it's great.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, 4 times a week. And I do every day, but not always in the morning. Sometimes.
Mine's all over the place.
Sometimes I miss the morning. Like I had a buddy stay over the last couple of nights, and he needed a place to crash, and so in the morning it just you know, he was there, and you know, I did my workout, but never really got time to meditate, and so I had to come here and meditate. Yeah, you know, which is okay. I mean, I have the space here.
Yeah, it's a nice space for it.
It is. Well, thank you for coming in. We're going to link, you know, to your website for your photo stuff. And do you have a page for your coaching?
Yeah, DaveMossCoaching.com. Super easy.
We'll link to that.
Yeah, perfect.
And a Facebook page and all of that. And
well, thank you for having me in.
Oh,
it's always nice to talk to people about stuff like this. So.
Yeah, I'm glad that you came in, and I think that especially if you're, and I know you are aware of what's coming. I think that a huge percentage of the population, I'm going to say over 30, are so ill prepared for what's coming in the next 10 years in our society, with technology, with the you know, changing in politics and governments and the way that we live, and I mean the whole frigging thing is going to be stand on its ear. Yeah. And people are going to need coaching.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's lots of really smart people out there who are already having conversations about universal basic income and what's going to happen with automation and everything else, and so start educating yourself now so you can be prepared for when it happens.
Yeah. I mean, the world is, and I get to see it because I'm researching all the time in the marketing side, and I'm watching, holy shit, this thing is changing so fast. You know, I've watched you know, these new apps come in and change the world.
Yeah.
You know, I started with Facebook in '08. You know, when before they didn't have pages.
Yeah.
And just through Facebook, watching the changes and the apps that have come and been associated with that, and chatbots, and you know, I mean, just so much. And
Oh yeah, machine learning is going to turn the world on its head, I think, in the next 10 years.
Yeah.
Along with all sorts of other technologies like clean meat and everything. Like we're in for a lot of change over the next 10 years, I think.
on diet and health.
Yeah, huge.
I think, I mean, actually I don't. Somebody else has said this, but I mean, everything, all our diagnosis, all our history is going to be on our phone. And whether we have an implant or not, or it's going to be an app on the phone that we can breathe onto or look into, you know, it's going to tell everything.
Yeah, I mean, it's already getting close. You know, with I wear my Fitbit, so it's tracking my heart rate, my sleep, and everything else like that.
Yeah.
So that information is getting easier and easier to collect.
So is it Bluetooth?
It Bluetooths to my phone, but I have to manually turn it on. It's not. I don't have it constantly turned on.
Well, yeah, because you don't want it constantly turned on.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to turn it off at night, but it's still collecting information.
Yeah, it's still got the heart rate monitor and collects the information, and then when I open the app in the morning, it dumps it in.
And it tells you how deep you go into sleep-wise?
Yep. Yeah,
Yeah.
it tracks my movement and everything,
Yeah.
so it can say when I'm in REM and.
So Dave Asprey's a lot of his things about sleep.
Yeah, lots of science around sleep right now.
And I have sleep apnea, and I wear a thing.
The CPAP, yeah.
Yeah, and I've been resistant, you know, and some nights I wasn't wearing, but now since I read Asprey's book, I said, fuck it, I'm just going to wear it all the time.
Yeah.
You know, and my body needs that. If I'm going to regenerate every day, I need that sleep.
Yeah.
And so if you're not getting a lot of sleep, it's not just about being tired. That's the problem the next day. But your mind is not getting to regenerate itself.
Yeah, that's what dreams do.
And so you want to regenerate, and otherwise I think we just grow old faster.
Yeah.
And it's not even, we're not even growing old, we're just degenerating.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so regenerate or degenerate, baby. You got to sleep.
Yeah, Arianna Huffington, her big crusade for the last probably 10 years has been sleep.
Yeah.
Like she created a simple piece of furniture called the phone bed, where you put all of your phones on the bed. They go to bed when you go to bed, so your phone's not by there, so you're not on your screen first thing, before and after. You get good quality sleep. And yeah, that's the science around sleep is getting more and more concrete about you need to sleep. And everybody needs a different amount. Some people need 6 hours, some people need 10 hours. You just, much with food, just trust your body, know what you need to do.
Yeah, and a blacked out room.
Yeah, if you can.
Yeah, and no little LED lights anywhere, you know, on your appliances, and there are no appliances in the room, you know. Anyway, sleep's a big deal.
Sleep's a big deal.
And I suppose that if you're coaching people, you ask them a lot of those questions.
Yeah, I've got an intake form that goes over everything from their childhood to their health to their relationships to all sorts, even just for my business clients, because I need to know what their environment and what their life looks like.
Really?
Yeah.
You mean the people that you're taking pictures of? Or
No. So I do life coaching and then also small business coaching for creatives, for photographers or designers or things like that. But I want to know, I need a whole picture in order to help understand what they've got the energy for, where they're aligned, where they're going to be able to move their business.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, I think Dave Moss would be a fellow that you guys need to get in touch with. Anybody there, entrepreneurs that are watching today, and you know, or if you're having struggles in any part of your life, I encourage you to talk to Dave and see what input he may have. That's what you do.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Okay, guys, we're gonna sign off. Just a couple of quick things, a couple of announcements. Really, we have a meditation here every Monday night, 6:30. It's come as you are, and kind of by donation or not, it doesn't matter. It's interesting that we've had some people coming who just really want to. You know, they're like, how much? And I'm saying, well, actually, this meditation Mondays are free, but they end up that they want to. So anyway, we never say no. And what else was there? Oh, this Thursday night, tomorrow night, we have Angus McDonough is doing a meditation for beginners. So he's a like a meditation teacher for many, many years, and Angus has come to us through some friends, and we know him through different connections, and he's going to come. He's doing his first night tomorrow night. It's kind of a demo night. We want to see what Angus does, and if it works out, we're going to do kind of a beginner's meditation on a regular basis. And that tomorrow night's by donation, but if we sign Angus up to come with us on a regular basis, there'll be some fee for that. But tomorrow night come 7 o'clock and on Thursday evening. And then towards the end of the month, we've got Amy Thiessen is going to have an evening here. And Amy's amazing. She's has an angel's voice and an angel's perspective too of the world. And so she's going to share a conversation and her ideas and her thoughts on life, I think, and her music on the 28th. So sign up for that. You can go onto our website or onto our Facebook page, either or, and get a ticket because we want to share the wealth with Amy and support her journey as a local artist. So that's it. Subscribe to us on YouTube and all that kind of stuff, and go to our website and check things out. And love you. Thanks so much for watching today. See you. Thanks, Dave.
Yeah, thank you.
I appreciate you coming.
My pleasure.